This is Ed, and you're on Global TV Talk Show again, unit, as you know by now, globalbusinessnews.net. Very special guests today, Robin McKenzie in Orange County, California, and in LA, San Fernando Valley, Dr. Ken Lloyd. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this interesting talk show about what would you call this, Robin? This is how to think about conversations at work or at home and characterize the conversations. How would you?
I can thank you for the question. I could see how this method could be utilized for all conversations, actually, especially when you're making a decision on something that is impactful at a large scale. Um, could be company decisions on new products and services, could be family vacations, could be how do we work together as a family unit. I could see that this practice of utilizing the methodology for the six hats um, has benefits in all company sectors.
So as you might guess, I live on LinkedIn, and that's where I found this. And so rather than um, I've changed my practice in the last 60 days, rather than look at them and then either upload it or send it on to somebody, I now capture them, copy and paste it into my download, and then I build a program around these topics. And so my job has become a lot easier as sort of my own AI system I'm, I'm putting together. Um, and we give full credit to the originators of this artwork and the thought process. It's not mine. I'm just bringing people together and displaying it and giving full credit to the originators uh, all the time. So we're talking about six thinking hats method of conversation or understanding communications, I guess. And it's a unique way of doing it, isn't it? So um, So I'm looking at the top of the chart here and under the black hat. Now you would think that's a bad guys from the Hollywood movies, black hats. White hatted guys are always the sheriff. The guys in black were the criminals, right? Troublemakers. But this is not it. The black hat here in this graphic focuses on caution, difficulties, and critical thinking. I mean, that's a mouthful, all in one hat. And then the white hat, this says focuses on data, facts, and information. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? That's kind of like a coach in the white hat. And
Mhm.
and so the red hat, just to draw a distinction here before we get into a dialogue, focuses on emotion. Red hat usually means danger or something, and emotions, feelings, and intuition. And then continuing on quickly, yellow hat, positivity, benefits, optimism. That's kind of a squishy, nice thing. Yeah. Green hat focuses on creativity, alternatives, and new ideas. Green. That's interesting that they use that color. And the blue hat, process control, process control, organization, and planning. So that's sort of like the boss. Ken, what do you think? Is a blue hat the boss, or what
Uh,
boss? Which boss and what day and what topic, right?
I would say it all depends. It all depends on the project, the problem, the issue that's being thought about. Some are going to call for more, if you will, managerial type of thinking. Some will call for more creative. Some are so factual. Some pose grave risks, and you want to take a look at the possible outcomes, positive and negative. So I think it really depends, number one, on the kind of problem or project you're facing, and then number two, on the individual. Some people tend to approach various problems perhaps with more of one hat on than another. And for other people, it's really, if you will, without asking the question, but I wonder which hat I should wear for handling this one. People do approach them differently or with a combination of all.
So can you imagine doing this kind of a thing in a in-person feedback session, and without letting the employee know that they're going to be playing this trick, and they walk into the room and on the screen there's this big thing of hats, and okay, we're going to have a conversation here. I mean, that's a way to break the ice, isn't it?
Oh, sure. And I think there are great educational training and development opportunities with all of these points that are out here right now to help people learn about thought processes, learn about their own thought processes, and understand the way that people around them may be thinking. Because some of their fellow employees may be, frankly, 80% of the time, black hat. I mean, who knows? So this will give you an opportunity to really understand that as well. Oh,
So
look at
this,
that, Ed.
so that this is your book. I think you may have seen this already, Robin. This is Ken's book, Dr. Ken Lloyd, Performance Appraisals and Phrases for Dummies. And there's a lot of pages in here. So if you want to display in the screen share, Ken, the full color version of that, that's quite all right. You can do that. And then we want to go to Robin and begin a dialogue. So why don't you show your book cover so the audience can see this, because this is perfectly timed. I didn't plan it that way, but it just happens. I don't know. Is that a white hat approach or a green hat?
It's very funny, but my sharing is not being very generous today. So I appreciate the opportunity, but it doesn't want to play. So I say we move right on to Robin.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, this is it. Performance appraisals and phrases for dummies. This is having a one-on-one interview in person, I would guess, right? Rather than online.
No, you can do these virtually.
Okay,
You do them
great.
virtually, particularly with the continuous feedback aspect, which is really regular ongoing communication with the members of your team. That can be done virtually. It is quite common to do it that way these days.
Okay, Robin Mack. So what do you think? Which one stands out for you so far?
So for me, I could see how this has been being utilized in organizations already and how it can benefit all companies, in that if it's put together in a structured way where people are coming together and learning the process, I think it has the most value. Where if the person in the blue hat can be sort of the facilitator to help keep everyone focused, together we can solve problems. So identifying problems, allowing people to share their ideas, everyone sharing possible solutions, and then providing everyone an opportunity to help prioritize so that they can take action on a fewer set of potential solutions that make the biggest impact for the organization. And then being able to identify and assign actions and then implement programs where they can have outcomes. And so if it's facilitated, we all have great ideas wherever we sit in our companies, and to be able to have a structured, focused process, I believe the 6 hats can be very beneficial for continuous process. It's used in a lot of companies that utilize Six Sigma and others. And we all have ideas, and oftentimes they go in different directions if they're not facilitated. I love your hat. And by utilizing this process, we can be more streamlined and focused. In the blue hat, if it's utilized in that aspect, is sort of the person that helps bring us back on track if we get off track. Some of the companies that I'm familiar with that have utilized this process in an impactful way is like NASA has used it for mission critical decision making. There's often times where something may go awry on a rocket, and I've worked with rockets myself, and could see where they've utilized it are we on or off for launching this rocket in the next 24 hours? And there's so many different aspects that go into that. And there's some potential systems that might not work in space, and they're all flight critical, mission critical. And so that process of six hats has helped everyone consider let's use some unconventional thinking beyond our usual constraints, what may or may not happen that may cause us to have to scrub the launch, which means delay the launch. It's also been used for British Airways, is another company that utilizes 6 hats. And out of that, everyone felt like their input is valued, and that creates that psychological safety. My ideas matter, and they've implemented the executive club out of that as was a result of one of the 6 hats sessions. So I see how various companies have made an impact and had some positive results and changes in their organization by utilizing this.
Robbin, thank you so much. Robbin McKenzie, let's step aside here, and why don't you tell our audience precisely who you are and what you do?
I'm a project management professional, and I provide organizations with innovative process improvement solutions that results in millions of dollars of additional revenue. I've worked in aerospace with rockets and airplanes. I've worked in various organizations, solar. I've also worked in mortgage and lending, finance, and several others. So leading project teams, and I'm a transformational leader, and I bring up and nurture and mentor teams and provide the vision and direction and help work through project management tools and techniques to help companies develop new processes or enhance their current processes, always utilizing process improvement solutions to make impacts for organization and the teams.
So this is mental, I'm using quotes here, mental engineering.
It's utilizing leadership skills, communication skills. Project managers develop and lead teams for both tangible and intangible types of projects. Could be building buildings or designing new IT systems. So it's a professional field that it's a global organization, Project Management Institute, and I'm part of the leadership in our local community chapter, where we provide others the opportunity to develop all of our project management skill sets and help us to go to the next level in our ability to manage and lead teams.
So previously you informed me that you were recently elevated, and now you're involved with or managing, I don't know what the right word is. You tell me, 1900.
So I'm currently the VP of operations, and I oversee 5 teams. And April 1st, I will be the president of our local chapter. And we currently have 1,900 members. And I'm delighted and honored to be serving the chapter in that role. And we're also reaching out to universities and companies and other nonprofit organizations offering the skill set to help those companies and organizations to have more efficient products and services.
I'm really honored to have both of you on this particular topic. If I had engineered it, it would be just as good, but I didn't engineer it. It just happened. And so there's somebody upstairs overlooking this. So Dr. Ken Lloyd, a PhD in organizational development. I would think this is right up your alley, Ken.
Oh, absolutely. In terms of helping individuals on the job to be more personally effective and successful, branching out to the team, to the department, and ultimately to the organization, and not by looking so much at, if you will, the hard side. You know, let's change this system, or let's move this accounting to function, and let's bring this, as opposed to looking at teams and communication and skill building and moving forward, additionally, individual organizational development. And I think looking at the specific 6 hats to give people another way to look at how people around them and how they themselves are thinking is just a great tool. It's it's opening up a new vista, a new mental vista for the employees that will make them more effective. I mean, I can remember working with an individual who is strictly a white hat person. That's what this individual was. And while on the white hat side, he was terrific. His technical skills, his analytical skills, all first rate. But nobody could stand him, couldn't stand working with him because he had underneath that a few other hats. Like he was pretty pessimistic. He was rather on the negative side. The glass is always half empty. And it really undermined his effectiveness. So take a look, and you could be the white hat person. You got data, you got facts, information, but you're working with a real organization that has people with other needs, interests, and skills. And maybe if you listen a little bit more to that guy with the green hat, you could take your analytical stuff and bring it to a higher level. So I think it kind of helps break down some of the barriers that might exist between people by understanding and taking a look at this, thinking, well, God, maybe I'm being a little too white hat on this thing, which would be fine. Okay. To open up people's eyes to this type of thing, I think it's terrific.
Robbin?
Absolutely. And providing some intentional, structured training sessions where people come together and are encouraged to share their perspectives in a safe place where when it's structured, others are encouraged not to criticize their ideas. All ideas are welcome. And then to listen to other perspectives from our own helps us all to be encouraged to be more curious and to learn, to be sort of in that growth-minded mindset and to develop that mindset if we're not already there. In a group setting, I believe helps all of us grow. In our personally as well as professionally and as a team, which helps to develop that psychological safety where people will feel more free in the future to be sharing ideas as well, and to understand what the different hats are and the importance of understanding we're all different, we all have great skills, we all have great value, and how we're different helps us to be better together. But understanding it from a six hats perspective, I believe will help us all to grow personally and professionally.
Interesting stuff. So I'm just looking at points number 3 and 4. Number 3 is facilitate feedback, collect team thoughts on the process, discuss what worked well, adjust based on input. And then step 4, headline, evaluate and redefine, review the outcomes, measure the effectiveness, refine for future use. It's like a great track to run on. It can be applied to anything practically.
Absolutely.
So I had never seen this before, although the idea of segmentation, yeah, I've come across that, but not in such an engineered way. So, and when you jumped on this right away, Robin, I said, whoa, what do we have here? And so I sent out I sent this to a long list of equally interesting people, but, I don't think that I explained it properly enough because the positive response was you and Ken right from the start. So here we are. So now we're going to talk to the audience out there and maybe generate another down the road. So Ken, talking about the LA fires, okay, and all the disruption and all this bitterness and anger that is in the press, and the fact that governor is doing his job trying to get people together and money, and dealing with President Trump, and then Trump coming back and says, yeah, we're going to help you, but there's going to be strings attached. Okay, so we're not getting political here, but there's a process here that we've just gone through with describing the hats and the organization. There's issues that need to get sorted out, and hopefully they're going to do that behind the scenes. I would assume, Robin, that most of your work is such highly technical and high level is done quietly rather than in headlines.
So if we're talking about the team, so problems and opportunities
Yeah, yeah.
should,
Right.
in my perspective, should be transparent, and working together is more effective than working in silos.
Yeah, Ken, do you want to comment on that?
Oh, absolutely. There's not going to be any one individual that's going to solve, if you will, if that's the right word, because it's a lot bigger than something one solves, but who will have all of the right steps, processes, procedures, and analytics and all to make it better. This is going to be a long-term, very challenging, very difficult, demanding, emotional process. And I think it's going to take that team, and we have people who are wearing all 6 hats. You know, some more with more white hat people, some more creative, perhaps than they would be when more the green hats. We need to have all of these kinds of thinking together to solve a problem of the magnitude of these fires that destroyed so much of the city, the community, and the lives of so many people.
Geographically, it was just a small part of the Southern California region, but the economic input and the mental psychological safety factor, I'm sort of at a loss for better words right now. Hard to believe, isn't it? But LA's Southern California's huge market. I mean, it's huge. But the impact of that particular sector and the creative community, financial community. So let me ask you a question, Robin, and you can redirect me if I'm getting off track here. The people who own those homes in, say, Palisades and Altadena, they still own them, but they own the land, not the houses. Wouldn't you think so?
I don't have enough information to answer
Mm.
for those folks, but I could certainly see how bringing various teams together to help with, there's so many layers and so many companies impacted. The people that live there, for sure, number one, we want them to be in a better place and to help to provide solutions for them, and also for the community and all the other companies that are impacted as well. I think being able to be part of the solution is important for everyone to hopefully getting through our emotions. Our emotions are valid, and going through, you know, the grieving 6 steps of grieving is important for all of us because it impacts everyone. And for utilizing the 6 hats in helping families and then also companies, I believe would certainly help everyone to be able to move forward in a more impactful way. And so to be able to share this strategy with others, I believe would be could be part of the solution.
So are you in charge of the business development for this group, this chapter?
I'm not in charge of the business development for project management. Project management is a global professional organization, and our local chapter is all run by volunteers. And our goal is to help everyone to further our professional skill sets and to make impacts. You know, we're impact driven in the respective organizations that we work with.
So there must be people involved somewhere in the state level, the county level, and even maybe the city area that is part of that group. Somebody must be involved. Yeah.
Absolutely. Program managers, portfolio managers
So
that oversee projects.
I'm beginning to feel smiles inside here because what we're talking about now is so relevant to what's going on in our region.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ken, take us to another point here.
Well, what you don't see is a hat that is the person who wants to look backwards constantly, and rather than try to solve problems, blame. Let's just start seeing who's responsible for this, that, or the other. Look, and on these fires, and that there's been a lot of that. And they're pointing at all sorts of individuals, organizations, but that's not going to really do anyone any good. All it's led to is a bunch of political infighting and people saying, let's move forward, let's get this taken care of. Let's see what did contribute to it and see if we can eliminate some of the factors that created or contributed to the problem in the first place. But let's go on. I mean, the name calling and back and forth and who's responsible for what, this was a multi-pronged failure, and a lot of people could be at least have some responsibility for it. But just trying to focus on blame, all that's doing is just making the people who are so adversely impacted by this feel better and more depressed and upset and prolong the healing process. So you look at these hats, these are all really positive. These are the hats that should be worn. I don't want someone walking around with a blame hat. You know, what do I do in my thinking? I try to figure out who should have done this, who screwed up, who did it wrong. Okay, you know what? Let's get beyond that and let's try to solve problems, build, grow, develop, and get us down the road towards success. And that's where these hats in combination will take us. And there's no blame hat here. Don't wear that hat because that's not doing anybody any good.
Thank
Great
you for
point.
this. This is not rehearsed, speaking to the audience out there. You are watching this recorded program subsequent to today's live recording session, speaking to the audience who are watching this now on LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, X, in days, weeks, and months to come. And I think it would be an excellent discussion topic within, it could be the dinner table, never mind at the bar. So tell us about project management. It sounds like it's a really positive group, a positive attachment, a positive happening where people are, just like Ken said, looking for solutions and inquiry from a bright light point of view, rather than yikes, what went wrong. Like I'm sure in the space launch business or in intergalactic technology, whatever the right words are, space launch is really expensive and really dangerous. And so there's we only hear about the major like blow up, but there must be a lot of snafus along the way. And then back to the drawing board, if you can call the hat idea the drawing board, bringing people together to how do we get through this? How do we solve things? As you can see, clearly I'm floundering around here with the right words. So Ken, Robbin, please have a conversation. I'm learning. Ken?
Oh, I was going to say, Robbin, I'd love to hear you.
Okay.
What Ed just said. That's so funny.
Um, the space launch, there are very few catastrophes. It's so many people with so many amazing talents. A lot of technical elements go into it. And if there is an anomaly with a particular part, there's very stringent testing and quality elements for all parts because it is a flight critical project. And if there are any anomalies for any sets or lots of parts that didn't meet the criteria, statistical criteria for quality, are reviewed and fixed before a rocket is allowed to be launched. So in that particular space, I can't share too much information, but it is considered flight critical and requires a lot of people from a lot of different companies and vendors, and that's all I can share about that. It's proprietary,
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
but it's
okay.
flight critical, and it's very important that everyone works together. So the 6 hats is very important in that particular area as well, where we're coming together and thinking about every part on the rocket impacts every other part, and how everyone comes together and everyone's ideas are instrumental in the solutions. And that is also that thought process of the 6 hats is also utilized in other industries as well, in similar facets where everybody's work is important, everyone's work is valuable, and to have people work together as a team to work on solutions and encourage everyone to be growth minded and to feel safe enough to grow in that thinking mindset will certainly have companies will certainly have more successful projects. The project success rate will increase when people work together.
Yeah. Ken, let's think of Hollywood. Make the movie making, okay, or TV development. It's all the same. The movies are huge projects, but it's like bringing together gig workers, other than the hardcore team, and then finding gig workers, right? And um, when you were involved in the talk shows, the morning talk shows that you were a guest on a few years ago. These shows are put together on almost the same way as in building a featured movie, where you have a hardcore group and then they find guests to do certain things for a certain period of time. Then you have the camera people, the lighting, the whatever. And everybody sort of just does their own thing and it works together. Uh, not as high level as what Robbin was just talking about, but it's the same concept, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, the concept is that we have very clear objectives, whether it's to go to the moon or go to Mars or to put on a successful program, and to bring in the right people in the right roles, work as a team, which means a lot of communication, interaction, shared agreement on what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go, and how we're going to get there, and ongoing, if you will, agility to be able to adapt and adjust if we hit some bumps in the road. And you've talked about having to scrub a launch because of a factor like that. All of a sudden, canceling the program, moving in, moving people around, to have that kind of ability. And again, it cuts across all industries. And to try to build a climate and culture where we think that we are doing our very best. We want to really be number one, to stand out, to meet and exceed our objectives. And we want that to be the climate. It's not we just come in and slack off or just kind of go along with it. And I mean, when I think of aerospace, when I think of NASA, I think of the best and the brightest. And I think, when people, if they want to compliment someone, they'll say, yeah, well, it's like a rocket scientist. Or if something is not that difficult, this isn't rocket science, which is by saying rocket science is really at the peak, one of the peaks of intellectual achievement and accomplishment. And we would want people to sense that in that industry. And at the same time, you're putting on a TV show, that's a complex undertaking. And to do it right, it's very easy to mess up. And suddenly people are talking, the sound goes wrong, the cameras are wrong, the wrong shot is shown, the graphics don't work right. That's a failure. And one of the goals is we want to avoid failures. But if we do have a failure, again, don't put on the blame hat. How can we prevent this from occurring down the road? What creative, analytical, database, projective steps, whatever can we take to prevent this from occurring in the future across all companies?
So I'm going back to this chart here as we come near a close here in the next few minutes. How to use it or when to use it. I'm reading this thing. Using it in our personal lives. The white hat. And I'm just going to go quickly through this so that the audience can summarize to themselves what this is all about. White hat, gather information and facts before making personal decisions. Red hat, acknowledge your emotions and how they affect your choices. Not everybody can do that. So they may need a lesson on how to do that. Black hat, think about what could go wrong, prepare. Yellow hat, focus on positive outcomes and benefits. Green hat, explore creative solutions and new ideas. This is having fun with this, isn't it? And the blue hat, plan activities and track progress. It's like a track to run on, rather than what do we do next? Well, just here it is right here. So I'm really happy to have you guys make it practical. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a delight to be here with both of you and exploring the topic and encouraging people to utilize the 6 hats in their organizations.
And this is a positive step, and I'm really happy to be a promoter that what we've been discussing here is a way that people and companies and organizations can solve whatever problem they're working on.
Robbin, thank you. And thank you for sharing this with us. It's just full of insights. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, please come back. Let's do it again. And we'll grow the audience, I'm sure.
And I've learned a lot from both of you, so thank you so much.
You're so kind.
Right back to you. Thank you and be well.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.